morning. It is Tanj here, Peak Performance Specialist for real estate and property professionals. Happy Friday. It is the 1st of March. Well, here as I'm recording this in Melbourne, Australia. I hope you've had a sensational week. This is Rapid Fire Friday, where as a peak performance coach for real estate and property professionals, I just reflect on the coaching themes of my one-on-one coaching clients for the week and take a look at what were the similarities, what were the key things, and I share the themes and some tips, tools, and strategies to help you potentially navigate the same terrain or solve the same problems. So the theme for this week, it's just really come to light more and more. I mean, I do this every week, so, you know, it just becomes more and more obvious. The amount of potential that is currently in business. Wayne, Carol, how are you, my friend? Great to have you here. First cab off the rank. Thanks for joining in. There is so much potential in business right now. Priscilla O'Brien's joined in. G'day, great to have you here, beautiful. Happy 1st of March. James, good to see you, champion. Up to a big mission for the real estate industry, completely aligned. Love your work. Jackie Bailey, welcome back from Phuket, my love. How was your trip? Can't wait to hear all about it. Kate Ashton, oh, look at that, 3rd cab off the rank. Usually you're number 1. Well done, great to have you here. Doesn't matter where you appear, as long as you appear, I'm here for you. So if you missed what I said when I started, g'day Patty. Oh, hey, great to see you. I'd love to hear how all your dreams are cooking right now. Right, so we are here, Rapid Fire Friday. Happy 1st of March, pinch and a punch for the first day of the month, slapping a kick for being so quick. Isn't that what we used to say at school, or still say? This is where I reflect on what's been happening in the week, and particularly for real estate leaders. G'day Brendan, great to have you here. Thanks for joining. And here's what I find. I'm glad it was awesome, Jackie. There is so much potential out there for you and your business and your people if you're a business owner. And if you're an agent, you know, I invite you to listen. And if you're not even in real estate, just listen. If you've got a role or a leadership position, or you run a business, there's going to be something here for you. There's just ridiculous amounts of potential, and I'm still hearing too many people talk about the external things that they can't influence. The weather, the market, the Royal Commission, buyers calling, a lot of stock, not many sales, all of that. You can't influence it, but there's so much you can influence, which is what I'm going to cover today, because there is unlimited potential within your business that you could significantly increase your revenue, reduce your expenses, get the most out of your biggest liabilities, and increase your profit. So let's get stuck straight into it. Now, as you're watching this, if it's live that you're watching, do me a favor and type in live. If you're watching the record of this, just type in record. It just gives me a sense of when you're tuning in. Number 1. If you've got a pen and paper, write these down, by the way, and I invite you to just at least pick one today that if you implemented, it could make a big difference. Or if you're listening in the car, don't write it down. Leave a message for Siri as you're driving after this. So, number 1, no organizational chart equals company chaos. So many leaders that I coached this week either don't have an organizational flow chart, meaning they don't know who's who in the zoo, and they don't have people placed in the right roles, A, or B, have one that they did years ago and it's just not relevant. So I spent a lot of time with leaders this week just working through their existing or not existing organizational flow chart. And here is one of the key findings. G'day Rath, great to have you here. If you're a leader in real estate, or in other industries for that matter, because we have a few people out of real estate tune in, the common complaint I get is, I'm tired, I'm doing it all, you know, I'm stretched, I'm in the business, on the tools, all of those things. If you can relate to that, just give me a thumbs up so I understand if that's something that you're also dealing with. G'day Mark, great to have you here too, my friend. So a lot of leaders are saying, I'm in the business, on the tools, really tired, don't have time. If you don't have time, give me a thumbs up, smiley face, or an exhausted face, and let me know. So when I have the leaders actually create their organizational flowchart and they write down, you know, CEO, COO, CFO, CMO, which is just chief, marketing officer, chief financial officer, chief operations officer, chief executive officer, head of sales, head of property management, finance and admin. When you create the organizational flowchart and put the names in the boxes to see who is championing the different categories of your business, and then the leader puts their names in all the boxes because there's a lack of management in their business, what happens is they get a disassociated relationship with their workload, and it becomes very obvious how stretched they are. Does that make sense? And then all of a sudden it's like, no wonder I feel the way I feel. No wonder I'm exhausted. Running late to work. Sorry, I leave. I wish I could stay. That's all right, rats. Tune in later and watch the recording. So the great thing that's happened this week is leaders are getting to see very clearly, structurally, why they're so busy. And if you've read the E-Myth, I'm reading it or listening to it, almost finished 1 hour to go. It just confirms that in business, as a leader, you can be a technician on the tools here and now, doing the daily, the right now stuff. The manager, which is more about the past and cleaning up stuff and trying to improve things. Or the entrepreneur, which is very future orientated, strategy, growth and innovation. Most leaders this week were spending about 70% of their time as a technician, which means you've started a business just to have a job. That's very expensive. And then there's little time to manage, and about 5% of the time being an entrepreneur. Does that make sense? Can you relate to that? So that's what's been happening this week. So we spent some time getting the organizational flowchart clear. We put their names in on the areas that they're currently leading, and then we put down all the different team members that they've got in their business. And what became obvious is there were some departments that were overstaffed, other departments that were understaffed, and a real lack of management in the business. So that's the next strategy, is to raise the capacity of the people within the business. So no organizational chart equals company chaos. Have you got an organizational chart in your business? And if not, I really invite you to create one. If you need a hand, DM me and I'll help you out. Okay, now here, this might be a little bit controversial. I'm encouraging leaders to forget about position descriptions and KPIs and introduce purpose contracts and APIs. So position descriptions, as you would know, is typically a description of the position that you're hiring someone for. It's got a power paragraph and a whole bunch of stuff and some KPIs, key performance indicators, what they're accountable for. What I tend to find is position descriptions that get read once and they get put aside and no one really pays attention. But if you have purpose contracts, this is a contract that that person promises to be accountable for the fulfillment of the purpose, and they have to sign it, which means they are accountable. And when we're accountable, it means that we are willing to stand up and be counted for the performance that we're delivering. And instead of key performance indicators, I like to call them, something I heard from someone recently, action performance indicators. My action is creating a performance that's indicating a result, hopefully. So even just the shift in the semantics, even the shift in the structure from description to contract and action performance indicators, it becomes really clear of what I need to do and what's the purpose. So do you have either position descriptions or purpose contracts, KPIs and APIs for your people? If not, you are potentially having a lot of people duplicating stuff, being busy and not really being effective in fulfilling the purpose of the business. So I encourage you just to check out what you encouraged your people to do when they started, revisit it, create purpose contracts, which is what are the outcomes we want their energy to achieve, and turn the KPIs into APIs. Does that make sense? Do you like the sound of that? Let me know, give me a thumbs up. Finally, or not finally, I mentioned before the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. Again, this is from the E-Myth from Michael Gerber, who's a great author, great book. I'm just completely loving it, and we'll read it straight after reading it this time around. In business, there's 3 key roles, which is the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. Most of us start our business and we realize pretty swiftly that we're a technician. We've just created a job for ourselves with a very expensive infrastructure to support it. It's really, really important. And one of the things that Michael talks about a lot in the book is to get your business to a turnkey stage where it's like, treat it like a franchise. Treat your business like you were a McDonald's, and create a system and a strategy for maximum efficiency and effectiveness for every single line item in your business, every single category in your business. I like to look at it like the business in a week is like a conveyor belt. You have all of these human resources that work together like cogs in a machine to spit out a result at the end, like the gobstopper machine in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where Willy Wonka is pedaling really hard, the machine's making all these crazy sounds, and then out shoots an all-day gobstopper. I know it's a very random metaphor, but that's just the way I see it. Crazy, call me. So if you don't have the right structure where people understand as cogs in the machine which direction they turn and why they need to turn and which oil they need to lubricate and how their actions affect others, your machine can get stuck, clunky, rusty, and just dysfunctional. So take a step back and have a look at your business. Do you have a clear flow chart? Do you have people in the right positions? Do you have managers really responsible for the fulfillment of key elements? G'day, PK. And do you have an operations manager, manual with checklists and systems and tools for people to follow? If not, your most expensive line item, which is your human resources, it's your biggest liability and your greatest asset, could be really draining your business because people aren't clear on what they need to do. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense. Now, one of the leaders that I coached this week, he said to me, I'm really not social. So they don't do anything social twice a year. They might go out for dinner. So in 365 days of a group of people coming together to work together and fulfill a purpose, they don't hang out. Now, they don't hang out because he's not social. And I just said to him this week, I said, it doesn't mean your team wouldn't appreciate it. G'day, Mark. Doesn't mean your team wouldn't appreciate it. So what would be possible if you had some monthly social activity where each person in your team rotated choosing a restaurant where their families can come? It's not mandatory, it's optional, and you can just come and connect and talk about stuff other than work. Please, leaders particularly, treat your team like your clients. Don't be transactional, be relational. Invest in them both professionally, personally, and socially. And that's just a really simple way to elevate their morale, elevate their performance, and increase your, your culture in your business. Because if you're just working together and there's no fun and there's no joy or time to connect and be with family, then I don't know, I think there's just a massive missed opportunity. Another one, had a couple of dear clients, 2 directors who are just navigating different communication styles. And we really got to the sediment of what's been going on. Great operation, fantastic business, fantastic directors, both want the same thing, but just communicate differently. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been in that situation where you're doing business with people and you're just kind of singing from different hymn books from time to time? It can cause frustration, it can cause dysfunction, and it can cause upset. And that's what happened this time. An upset arose. And when we are upset, we become highly emotional. And when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So a little tip. If you are upset at something or someone and you feel a rage of emotions coming over you, that is not the time to make big decisions, to either leave the business or make a massive change. Because you're probably coming from being, your wound and your, self-sabotaging stories that you believe about yourself, others in the world, and you won't make the best decision. So feel the upset, let it come, let it transmute, breathe through it, and wait until the dust settles, which is what this great director did. When they had the upset and the rage, the call ended and they needed some time just to process what was going on for them, which was really wise. And then they reached out the next day with the other parties and felt better and just started to look at what was that about? What was that trigger? If you're running your business and you're making decisions in highly emotional states, it is a really tricky thing to do. Good morning, Emma. Great to see you here. So have you ever felt really emotional in your business and made bad decisions? The practice is, when the emotion comes up, breathe, let it simmer, feel the emotion, just witness and watch it go on, and you'll eventually pass through it like a little storm. When the dust settles, then tune in and just be in communication with the person that you had the issue with. And if it's just something that you feel you don't have a lot of skill in, it's something that I have a lot of skill in. And so if you're navigating a dysfunctional relationship at work, or you got a lot of emotional charge or upset, DM me and let's organize a complimentary discovery session for you. 20 minutes, half an hour, let's just unpack what's going on and get you back in an empowered state so you can navigate that future terrain. And finally, a big one. Here's where a lot of money is being wasted in business, particularly in real estate. Too many leaders are addicted to being liked and they're not leading. And one particular leader this week got to see that their addiction to being liked actually equals job loss, because we looked at the impacts. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So if you're walking past poor performers or standards just not being upheld, and you're not addressing it because you're avoiding conflict, because you don't want that person to be upset with you and you don't want them to be angry with you, meaning you want them to like them, well, who suffers? The business suffers, the team suffers, the revenue suffers, the productivity suffers, the profit suffers. And when the profit suffers, jobs are on the line. So get straight with yourself. If you are avoiding having difficult conversations, it's probably because you just don't have the skill to do it. But if you're willing to do it, I am here to help you, because this is a massive one, not just in real estate, but in all organizations. We find it hard to lead and confront the things that aren't working. And there is a way to do it that's loving, that's honoring, that's respectful, where others can learn. And good on this leader who I coached through this. By the end of the conversation, they were on fire, completely taking responsibility for where they've stepped over a massive amount of poor standards. And we're just going to, and here's the thing, the byproduct of leaders stepping over, poor standards is job loss is what's the inevitable future if the profit's affected. But you actually lose respect as a leader from your people, because if your people can see that you don't have the courage to address the things that aren't working, they just won't respect you. If you do the tough love, if you set the standards, if you demonstrate them and consistently raise the standards of other people, you'll earn a massive amount of respect. So it's, and you'll end up being liked anyway. But, when jobs are on the line, please don't be addicted to being liked. It just keeps people really, really, really small. So that's Rapid Fire Friday. That's all I'm going to share for today. I hope you got one thing for yourself. If you don't have an organizational flowchart, you have potential company chaos. Who joined here before? Helen. G'day, Helen and Joe. Love, love, love. The standard you walk past, yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. As a leader, as a manager, you walk past that stuff, you endorse poor performance in the future, and it's going to be really hard for you to navigate, change. In the future, if you see some poor standards, instead of point the finger and attack people and tell them off, my invitation to you is get curious. Be curious. Do they not know the standard? Have you not communicated it? Have you not reminded them enough? So don't attack, get curious, and just say, hey, Joe, I noticed you did that, so thank you for doing that. Did you realize, though, we actually do it this way, and here's why, la, la, la. And you just do it in a really get curious, supportive, maybe I didn't tell you kind of way. G'day, Adam. Nice to have you here. So get an organizational flowchart. Make sure you get really clear on who's who in the zoo. Otherwise, you have company chaos. Forget about position descriptions and KPIs. It's all about purpose contracts. Stand up and be accountable, because when I stand up and be counted on, then I have, I guess when you're willing to stand up and be counted for the results that you produce, there is a mutual accountability accountability. It's self-driven. Too many people are pacifying their people. Forget KPIs, it's all about APIs, action performance indicators. G'day, Jag. And there was someone that joined before that I didn't say g'day to, Kaina. What a beautiful name, Kaina. I hope I'm saying that properly. If you're a leader in business, are you spending too much time as a technician on the tools, not enough time, or you don't have enough people managing the key categories of your business? Therefore, you cannot be an entrepreneur and innovate and create strategies to achieve growth in the future. So do a little assessment, I ask you to do today. What percentage of your time are you on the tools? What percentage of your time are you managing? And what percentage of your time are you building the growth of your business? Walking past those standards, respect lists, yeah. Also losses, those who can't tolerate those low standards. Yes, thank you, Joe. Really great point. If you don't manage the standards of your business, you will lose good people, because people want to be part of an inspiring environment that's up to stuff. As Tony Robbins says, the key to happiness is progress. If you as a business leader aren't improving, aren't a constant work in progress, and your people can't see that you're doing the best with the resources you have at the time to progress, build efficiency, build morale, they'll go somewhere else, because people want to be working in inspiring environments. Well shared, Joe. Your people are your clients. Your people are your clients. Your people are your clients. Please remember that. It's Richard Branson's philosophy. Treat your people like your clients. Be relational, not transactional in your business. When you walk in your office today, stop and say g'day to your people. Do you know what's happening in their lives? Do you know when their kids' birthdays are? Do you know what they're dealing with? Do you check in on them? Do they feel like you care? Really, take a look. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. Yay, viewed. Yes. When emotions is high, intelligence is low. Do not make big decisions when you're upset. They'll not be the greatest decisions. They'll be coming from your ego rather than your soul. Don't ever do that. And our addiction to being liked as leaders is getting in the way of us actually effectively leading. So when you're addicted to being liked, it equals job loss, because it affects the revenue, the gross profit, and the performance of your business. So which one are you going to actually do anything about today? Which one resonated with you the most? I'd love you to type it in. Remember, I'm here to provide an A to any cue you have, particularly if it's in the area of leadership, business, or mindset. Mostly in real estate, but it's cross-pollinational to other industries. I've had 30 years experience working in the corporate, private, retail, government sectors, helped businesses grow by up to 210%. I love to support people to achieve their dreams. Why? Like one conversation I had with a principal this week who's feeling extremely depressed, unhappy, and unfulfilled. And guess what? Every 4 weeks, listen to this, every 4 weeks, he has to hand over $200,000. That's the break-even point for his business. $200,000 every 4 weeks is what it costs him to run his business. Can you imagine the responsibility of $200,000 every 4 weeks? So there are things that you can do to ensure you're gaining market share, to ensure your people love coming to work, and ensure that you're covering your monthly break even. Question is, do you even know what your monthly break even is if you're a business owner? Most that I speak to have no idea. Often many are leading blind. No wonder stress levels are high. I want to help ensure that this industry, leaders and teams in this industry, are happy, fulfilled, purposeful, leading by example, and delivering great service and building trust and transparency in the communities they have the privilege to work in. So if there's something you're navigating, something you're dealing with, DM me. Please write a comment, and I'd love to answer your question, of course, anonymously. So I look forward to spending some time with you, hopefully, at Mindset Mastery Monday, where we talk more about how to rise resilient in a world of rejection and master what's going on in that beautiful mind of yours. Let me know if you found this useful. Type me a comment. Let me know which one you're going to work on. And I wish you a wonderful March. Can you believe we're in the 3rd month of 2019? It's crazy. Go be great. Go get interested in other people today, and have yourselves a beautiful weekend, and good luck for show day in real estate tomorrow. Mwah. I'll speak to you soon. Have a great, great weekend. And thanks to you, our friends on